So my experience in pregnancy was pretty good because of Annie, our midwife. She ensured that most of the midwives at Colchester General were aware of our situation, and I don't think we had any incidents where they said the wrong pronouns.
Yeah, so other than Annie as our midwife, we were in and out of hospital as standard anyway, with things such as scans, and Ivy was at one point breech as well, so we had to go in for an ECV, I think it was called. So we were talking to consultants, doctors, triage, midwives and that sort of thing anyway. Over time, a lot of the midwives actually got to know us anyway.
Yeah.
So we go in and they'd know it's Caspar, they'd know the situation. So it was quite nice to, over our journey, before even going in for the final labour, to be recognised and sort of known already as to who we are.
Yeah, I think pronouns are important because that is how you identify yourself. I think it's a good idea to have a form with your care plan or on your charts that say your preferred pronouns and how you want to be identified. But it's also there's no harm in asking the person, such as me, what their preferred pronouns are. So.
Holly, I think her name was that her name? Holly? And she was the first midwife that actually actively asked us what your pronouns were.
Yes,
do you remember?
Yeah.
She was the only one that I can remember that did that. Everybody else referred to his sheet and saw it was Caspar and it was him in general. But Holly, I think her name was Holly, was I think the only one that I can remember that actively asked, what are your pronouns? And that was fantastic.
How did that make you feel, Caspar?
It was good because it showed that they had some interest in the care that they were giving. So, yeah, it felt good.
I think when we talked about how for the midwives, especially not to be scared of a situation such as ours, doctors need to do that as well. Doctors, obviously, they're darting around a hospital at the speed of light with so many different patients and so many situations to do that they don't really have a chance to stop, breathe and assess possibly the identity or the mental state of the patient, so to speak. We had a doctor that came in, a male doctor that came in and assessed Caspar on quite a few occasions downstairs as well. I don't really know the best word to use that, biologically speaking. And he was you can tell he was nervous. And this was when he was assessing you for your dilation, I think it was. You can tell he was nervous and he was sort of like, am I okay to, examine you down there? Are you going to be okay? And all that stuff. And it was good that he was asking the questions, but relax. Because, 9 times out of 10, as I say, we're not going to bite your heads off. If anything, we're going to, more so, in a weird way, we're going to calm you to calm us, which is quite amusing. But yeah, so it's doctors as well as, I suppose, all hospital staff, just to relax and not be afraid to ask those questions. What Annie had prepped for us was that we were to remain in the delivery rooms rather than going up to the ward. That way we don't have to potentially mix up with the same-sex bathroom sort of things. Caspar would have his own bathroom and toilet there in the delivery room. And Annie as well made sure there was a butterfly on the door, which apparently is supposed to represent somewhat of a unique situation behind the door. So everything was put in place, and it was quite breathtaking actually going into the delivery room following our birth plan, because I wasn't anticipating it to be all set up and ready, etc., or there'd be one thing missing, things like that, lost in translation and whatnot. But no, everything to our birth plan went ahead perfectly well, so it's really good.
Yeah, not only that, but Annie made sure that there was a drug that was given an hour after birth, which stopped breast milk from producing. So that really helped my mental health because I didn't have to worry about going through that. So that was brilliant. It was mentally challenging, of course, but I don't think the care let me start again. It was mentally challenging, but the care that I received, I don't think affected it in a negative way. I think because they made it so more comfortable. Yeah. Because everything that we discussed with Annie and everything that we planned on the birth plan and our continuous visits to the maternity unit, and everybody becoming a lot more familiar with the situation, the nerves and I suppose the potential there for mental stress and things like that would play on your head diminished. Yeah. And it became a lot more comfortable, it became almost enjoyable of an experience, because that again is, I suppose, the most important thing for this was to make it as enjoyable and as comfortable as we can. I suppose originally you wouldn't expect a transgender man to want to go through, because it's experiencing something that realistically you didn't want your body to experience in the first place. But having said that,
that being a risk factor with everything that happens and everything that was put in place, it was quite exciting. And we've even planned, obviously, to have another child before you do your transitioning. So it sort of paints a picture there, really. Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing that, and then this is very nitty gritty, and I suppose being Caspar's partner, I'm very protective, especially with that sort of community as well. He's very, very laid back, and most of the time, me being protective wouldn't have even affected him whatsoever. He'd probably be like, don't worry about it. And most of the time, this was the case. But going into triage, going into the maternity ward, you see a lot of posters, documentation, even the pregnancy folder that we get given, and sort of like the mum bags and the mama and baby app. It's very female orientated, and that's not me to say that okay, we need to change this now because it's not the case. No, it's very a standard thing. It always has been. You know, it's the biology of the whole entire thing of pregnancy, and that's just what we're with. But it would be interesting to see how that could possibly, I suppose, maybe be altered or regulated in a way that it's not so much so these days as mum and baby. It could be as we are, you know, father and baby sort of thing. And
or parent and
yeah,
baby.
Or parent and baby, if you're just completely being all inclusive with it. But I would go into there and I would see it all the time as sort of like, and even on the birth certificates, the red books, it's mother of child and things like that. It's just the small little things that you sort of grasp up and like, okay, we're not quite there yet with that sort of thing, but we are getting there.